You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Life is not easy. It never was, and it never will be. A good life takes grit. Prioritize who you are and who you want to be, because life isn't fair, and a little grit can make all the difference.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm your host for this evening, the Gritty Broman. This podcast is about the camera gear that Brian took with him on this hunt. Brian kind of explains why he went with this particular camera setup for this particular hunt. We're going to get to the podcast real quick, but I want to tell you guys about the Mountain Ops Movie Night. We're going to be going to 5 states. We're going to go to Texas, Pennsylvania, Oregon, Utah, and Montana. And at each of these nights, we're going to have 5 films, one of them being Brian's new film, Untamed. The tickets are available online. Go to mountainops.com/events, and it'll take you to the page. Or you can go to mountainops.com, and at the top of the page, you'll see a tab that says events. Click on it, and you can buy your tickets for the show at the end of this month down in Harrisburg, PA. If you're coming to town for the TAC event in PA, be sure to get your tickets for the movie night. They're going to be happening around the same time. The dates overlap. We got hats and shirts. They're coming out real soon. We'll be keeping you guys up to date on that real close with some gritty swag. It's almost up. All right, guys, that's it. Let's get to the podcast.
Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I'm joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the camera gear I'm taking on this bear hunt. So because we're backpacking in, I want to keep it pretty light, but I don't want to sacrifice on the things I like in filming. So audio is really important to me, and a nice, pretty image is important to me. Low light, a lot of different things I like. So what I've got here is a Sony a7S II. If I had the money, I would have upgraded to a Sony a7R3 or ASR3 or AR3 or whatever it is. But I haven't done it yet, and so this isn't the best photography camera. It'll do, but it's not the best. When I upgrade, it'll basically be a Sony, again, similar camera, but it'll be good at photos and at video. But right now, the a7S II is a video monster. I love this camera. It just doesn't take the best photos. It's just not as powerful as a photo camera, but it's still good. It'll do the job. What I have is the Peak Design clip here. I have it hooked up to the Peak Design strap is hooked to the Peak Design clip. This clip goes on my shoulder strap right here on my backpack, and then it just slides on right there, and it just rides here. You can put it down on your waist, wherever you like it. Push this button, comes right off, okay? So that's handy when you don't want the camera swinging around, and but you want to have quick access to it. If the camera is in your pack, you're not going to use it. So get it out. I like this clip. And then sometimes I like to run the strap. And because I have the microphones mounted on the top, I like to run the strap here on the clip and on the side here of the camera. And then when the camera's just sitting there, just hanging off of me, the shotgun mic and all that stuff is not ever getting bumped or anything, and I can pretty much just do whatever I want as I'm walking around without worrying about that. Okay, that's that for the strap and the Peak Design clip. And now I'm going to go over kind of what I've got for the camera itself. I have the Sony, I forget what they call this, but it's this Sony mixer that connects to the hot shoe port on the camera. So when I flip this camera on, I don't have to remember to turn a mic on, like a Rode VideoMic Pro or anything else that has external power. It runs off the battery in the camera. And so when I turn it on, it just runs through the hot shoe, and everything's communicated through the hot shoe. So it's just an extension of the camera itself. I don't need to use the ports on the side. Like I said, it's just through the hot shoe. And then it gives me 2 channels. So right here, if I flip this mixer up, I can see what channels I'm running. And what I've done is you have these different settings. I've got mine all set how I like it. And I have 2 channels, one that will run this shotgun mic right here, and then one that runs my Sennheiser. So this is a wireless lav mic. And what I've done is I've just stuck Velcro on the top of this, and I have Velcroed with some heavy duty Velcro. I have Velcroed my receiver for the lav mic on the top. So that's how it rides, just like this. And the reason I like to run the lav mic, because I've gone without it, it's just that if someone's whispering or I really want to get capture all the emotion of a shot or the moment, it's really difficult to do it without that lav mic, especially if the person is standing 5, 6, 10 feet away from you. When a shooter is up and it's the heat of the moment, you can hear their heartbeat going and their heavy breathing and all of that. I just feel like that's super cool. And as I've been watching shows like The Hunting Public, you can tell when someone's running a lav mic versus when it's just a shotgun and the person's far away. They're filming the subject far away from the shotgun. You just don't get the same feel out of it. So I really like it, the setup. It's a little bit of a pain, but I'll run these Energizer lithium batteries in here, and it will last me a couple of days of running the wireless mic on whoever it is. So, I'll probably have lampers, wearing a lav, and I'll be able to, talk to them easily. You'll hear me because I'm close to the camera when I'm running it, but then Ryan, as he's far away and he's a soft talker, I can still capture what he's saying. He's a quiet talker. That's the audio, and I'll show you this Sennheiser mic that I've got running here, the lav. It just looks like this. This would go, it's a body pack that would just go like in Ryan's pocket or in his shirt, and then the microphone will just run up under his shirt and be, on his collar. And what's nice about it is, like I said, it just picks up everything that he says, or whoever. It could be on me as well, but it works well in the wind. So if the wind's blowing and that thing's tucked down low, you can hear the voice easily without the wind wrecking it. I think audio is more important than a lot of people believe, and I've gotten away with just running a really lightweight mic on the top. There's lots of ways to do it. In this case, I really, as we're going to be sitting around bear hunting a lot, there'll probably be more conversation, more standing around. It's not run and gun like it is with elk and some other animals, so I've just opted to bring it. And I want to do a few podcasts too, and that the lav mic really helps with that setup. So this is just spare batteries in here. I do have a way where I could run the get rid of the shotgun mic setup on here and run the lav mic straight into the camera, but I prefer having redundant audio. So a lav mic and a wireless lav mic and a shotgun mic. That's how I'm rolling. So this is just my spare batteries, and I have a couple dark energy chargers to charge the batteries each night in the field. It's a pain in the butt carrying batteries, but it is what it is. I have this little wasabi charger. I can charge 2 batteries at the same time. I'll do that right off the dark energy each night, and I think I have 6 batteries, and hopefully I can just keep the 2 in rotation until the dark energy goes dead, and then I have a few extra, for just in case. I bring these hand warmers, these toe warmers, to stick to my battery compartment if I need to. So if temperatures drop and it gets real cold and batteries just keep dying, you take these little hand warmers, these little toe warmers, and they're sticky. They got a little sticker on them. You warm those up, and at least with this Sony camera here, I heard the new ones have better batteries. That's why I want to upgrade to the new camera also, is for the better battery system. But man, you stick this a hand warmer deal on, stick it right on the battery compartment, and it just warms it up, and your batteries just last 10 times as long. So I bring a couple of those. I bring a little blower to clean the lens inside the camera. If I get something on the sensor, I bring this little blower, and then I have this little egg timer, which I bring for my GoPro. It's a little Hero 4, and I've got this little egg timer, and basically I just twist it and I set it up, and I get time lapses with it. And I can, It can be of camp, it can be of the horizon, the mountains, whatever. But it's just nice to capture. Maybe it's setting up tents, whatever. This little camera, I've got like 3 batteries for the Hero, which gives me about a 1 hour time lapse on each thing. It's just it's not very heavy. That's pretty much all I use a GoPro for nowadays is just to do a time lapse. It's pretty easy to do. Okay, right here I have a Batis 18 millimeter lens. This is what I have been running. This is the only lens I'm going to bring with me. It's a 2.8 18 millimeter lens. This is a full frame camera. It's wide angle. For backpacking, I can get all the pretty shots, all the rich, nice shots with this 2.8 lens. I can run it wide open. Because it's a wide angle, I can handhold the camera and it's going to do just fine. I can crop it in post if I want to. I can self-film with it like this, talk to the camera, do my own little interview, talk about what's going on. And it's wide angle, so it captures all that stuff that's around me, but it's not so wide that it does a fisheye. It's a really nice lens. So this is a Batis 2.8 18 millimeter. And then I like to run it wide open, meaning with the aperture at 2.8 most of the time, or 5.6. It depends on what I'm trying to film, but usually I do it at 2.8 to get that cinematic look that I like to have. And so I have in here 2 filters, and I run a 6-stop and a 3-stop filter. And I have in here I'm running a breakthrough technology, or I think that's what it's called. Yeah, breakthrough photography. I like their filters. I like how they look. So I've got a breakthrough. I got a 3-stop and a 6-stop. And basically, for those that don't know, this is just like a set of sunglasses that you're putting on top of your camera. So, for example, on this, I just take the time to screw it on like this on the front of my camera, and now I have darkened the lens, right? But what that does is it allows me to run the camera at 2.8 in bright sunlight, wide open, the aperture wide open, without overexposing the image. And typically what I do, my camera settings are basically set with ISO is auto, and it's set from auto from 100 to 800. Typically, I might go a little higher, but it's set 0 to 800. So if this happens to be too dark at any moment for the exposure setting I have, the exposure value I'm going for, the auto ISO will just bump it up on its own, and it's seamless. You don't see it step up either. Usually, I have a nice range where the ISO will just kind of auto adjust. I run the frame rate I run the shutter speed at 2 times the frame rate. So if I'm going 24 frames per second, then I run at 1/50th. Yeah, I just kind of keep my settings at 2 times my frame rate, aperture wide open, and the ISO 100 to 800, and I use filters to get the look I want. So if it's overexposed because it's too bright outside, I put the 6-stop filter on. If it's too dark, then I go down to the 3-stop filter. And if it's really early in the morning or dark outside, or close to it, or I'm using a lamp, I run with no filter, right? I find that I use the 3-stop filter in the first hour or 2 of daylight, and then I run the 6-stop filter most of the day, and then as the evening comes, I screw on the other one. That's how I roll. If in the heat of the moment I need to get a shot and it's too dark, I just artificially bump up the ISO if I don't have time to swap out the filter. It's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. I can talk about camera settings another time, but that's my gear. That's my setup there. Let's see here. What else do I have in here? I have a little pouch here that has all my lithium batteries, spare batteries for the Sennheiser mics. Got a couple extra batteries of the GoPro. And then I have a little wrench here that goes to my little my Leupold tripod. In case things get loose, I've got a lens cloth to clean the lenses with. I got a few, just a little nicks and knacks in here that I might need with the camera. And then what's cool about one thing I really like about this setup here is when I'm running this Peak Design clip on my shoulder, and it's strapped on my shoulder right there or my hip, and I pop it off. In the past, it's like, man, I really want to throw it on the tripod and film something that's going on, but you have to unscrew this because there's no tripod heads that are compatible with it, or you got to get some kind of adapter. Well, not anymore. With this Leupold head, I've found like I can go ahead and slide this puppy on here and then cinch it down with the little set screw here, and boom, I have it's compatible with my spotting scope, plates, and all that stuff, but the Peak Design clip slides right in. I couldn't be happier about that. So now I can just kind of run both, run this right on. It's always been a problem for me. If I have a 1-400 lens, then I usually run the plate for the bigger lens out front and the Peak Design clip on the camera body in the back. But then you have this huge lens hanging off the body, and I don't like that when it's on your Peak Design clip. So this is cool. I'm glad it works. This is a Leupold tripod. Super thrilled about that. So here's my deal. I'm only bringing the Batis 2.8 18mm lens with me because lenses are heavy, and I'm trying to keep my weight down. There's a lot of lenses I'd love to bring with me, but I find that for me, I can get a lot of all the photos I want. I can get a lot of those with this. I can get the video I want. The one thing it doesn't do is really telephoto. It doesn't give me that zoom shot. And I realize that, but when you start bringing a telephoto lens, you're talking about a whole new weight category. When you start to bring a 1-400 millimeter lens or a 70 to 200, you're talking about it's like another spotter. Since I'm bringing a spotting scope, I'm just going to bring a phone scope for the long distance shots. And so the group of us each have a phone scope that just mounts to the spotting scopes, and any kind of longer range video we're going to get of animals is mostly going to be done that way. At least that's how I'm doing it. But because there's another talented and capable camera guy coming on this hunt with us, instead of just Ryan and I, Jeff Lusk is coming. Jeff is going to bring a 1-400, and he's going to leave the spotter at home. For that reason, Jeff's going to be able to film those long distance shots. And I opted. I weighed it, like, do I leave my spotter at home and bring the heavy lens, or do I just pack it? My problem is, from my own experience, that 1-400 lens, man, it's money when you need it. And you throw a doubler on there, and it's a 2-800 millimeter lens. You use clear image zoom, and it's like a 2-1600 millimeter telephoto lens. It's incredible. It's great. It's awesome. But the problem is, a lot of times it sits in my pack the whole time. Literally, it doesn't come out until the moment that we're shooting, and then is it worth carrying the rest of the time? Now, when I'm filming elk and some other animals, and there's a lot of wildlife to view, I would sacrifice. I'd bring it. But on this hunt, I don't think we're going to see a ton of that. And so I'm gonna try to get by without that. And because it's not a bow hunt, it's not an over the shoulder kind of hunt, I think it's gonna work. It just doesn't make sense to bring the 1-4 for the rifle kind of thing we're doing. I might bring a 70 to 200, or I have a number of lenses that would be good for an over the shoulder kind of run and gun elk setup, or close encounter where you want to telephoto some. But for this hunt, I'm just going to use a phone scope and the spotter, trying to conserve weight. And I'm just not willing to leave the spotter at home in exchange for the lens. So that is the situation. Thankfully, Lusk is going to bring his 1 to 4, so we're good. That's my camera setup. If you have questions, send me a note. Go to briancall.com. Contact us there. I think that's it. So I'll report back, let you guys know how it goes. We're going to try to throw up a daily vlog of this hunt and show you guys how it goes. I think it's going to be, I'm so stoked. I'm ready for this hunt to happen already. I'm leaving tomorrow. All right. Stay gritty, folks.